Hello and welcome back to AmbiV. I'm Casper and today we're going to be checking out the quality of a dirt cheap exhaust from Amazon. Beside me you can see a new exhaust for the 1992 Miata. Now the 1992 Miata is a car that I bought and since then my girlfriend has bought from me to use as her autocross practice car. The car is set up with coilovers and wheels and tires now in preparation for an autocross season that may never happen given the pandemic. But while we're in isolation, a good project is to fix the exhaust leak the car had. Now, we've already replaced the primary culprit of the exhaust leak. That was the catalytic converter. Someone had broken off the studs on the catalytic converter, and the catalytic converter in general looked pretty mangled and was making all kinds of noise and leaking around the seals there. You couldn't tighten that up, so we just took that cat out, put in a test pipe, and used bolts and nuts to clamp it down nice and tight. That solved the exhaust leak, but then you could hear noise coming from the muffler. Something had come loose inside the OE muffler that was rattling around at certain RPMs, probably a baffle weld breaking loose or something rusting apart in there, and that was obnoxious. Rather than trying to buy a whole catback system and making the car sound too rice-tastic, what we wanted to do was keep it sounding roughly OE-ish, but also not spend a lot on the car. The whole car has been pretty cheap so far and we want to keep it that way. Now this is about the cheapest exhaust I've ever seen and not immediately said no to. This was $123 on Amazon, listed as a Walker 55207, and I honestly am surprised that it looks pretty much like what it's supposed to be. This should be the entire catalytic converter back of the Miata, and obviously they care a great deal about the finish of this exhaust system because they wrapped it in many layers of saran wrap before sticking a shipping label on it and throwing it in the mail. If this fits at all, I'll be happy because that means we've replaced the entire catalytic converter back on this car for less than $300, which is a fraction of what an OE muffler cost. So let's get this under the car and see how it fits. Well, there you go. That's the Walker 55207 installed on the Miata. It went way easier than I thought it would because normally cheap parts require a lot of modification to get them to fit. This bolted right up, all the hangers were in the right places, and it even has double-walled tubing where it needed heat shielding so that it's very similar to the factory system. Even after the car fired up, it sounded very similar to the factory exhaust, just minus the rattle that was happening when the exhaust would drop down onto low idle. Now, there's still some rasp to the exhaust note, but that's not the exhaust's fault. That's what happens when you take away a catalytic converter. Now, at some point, we'll either put a new catalytic converter back in place, or we'll cut apart the test pipe and put in a little resonator, and that'll kill out that drone that'll come from that, as well as the rasp. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.